Be recorded.
So good morning and welcome to a very interesting conversation that we're going to have with Sam, who works over on Guernsey. And I'm sure a lot of you have realised already that Guernsey has managed to reopen its leisure centre. It's called Beau Sejour. It's a wonderful place. I had the absolute privilege of quest assessing Sam and her team. They did a fantastic job. So good morning, Sam. How are you today?
Morning. Yeah, good. Thank you. And you?
I'm very well. And just for our audience, Sam, you've got to tell them your hairdressers opened yesterday, didn't they?
Oh, I know. I was so excited. I hadn't had it cut since January, and anybody that knows me knows I like short hair. So.
Wow. My wife is going to be so jealous because I've been cutting hers, and I have to say I'm not very good. So yeah.
She's very trusting.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have seen what she did to mine. It was like a pudding bowl. But never mind. Right, come on, let's get to the point. Sam, tell us, what do you do on Guernsey, and give us a bit of insight as to how COVID has affected life on the island.
So we went into official lockdown on the 23rd of March, and it was a complete lockdown, so our borders shut completely. And it's a lot easier to control over here, I would imagine, than the UK. We have very clear borders. We were told to stay indoors. We were told to only go out for, I think it was 2 hours exercise. So we treated it very seriously from the very beginning. The other thing that Dr. Brink and her team did, and our political leadership, is run a track and trace program right from the very beginning. And that made a huge difference. So much so that we're now on day, it's either 37 or 38 consecutive day of no known new cases. So our R number at the moment equals 0. Okay. So at the moment we're in a good place, but we're coming slowly out of lockdown, and it's a gently. We've still got our borders shut, but people are allowed to travel for non-essential purposes. But if they return to the island, they have to self-isolate for 14 days, and they have had all the way through. So.
Okay, so that ability with island life to, as you said, just close your borders is really interesting, and I think that gives good context to the conversation. Now talk about what you do. What role does Sam do, and what things do you get involved in on the island?
Oh God! So my job title is Head of Recreation Services. I have under my remit and responsibilities Beau Sejour Leisure Centre, which has a footfall of around 600,000 a year. It's the only community leisure centre on the island. The Delancey Park, which is a parkland and playground, Foots Lane Athletics Stadium, so an 8-lane 400-metre athletics track and stadium, and also a rifle range.
Right, okay.
So yeah, the full spectrum.
Yeah, no, the shooting on Guernsey is a very popular sport. You've had some Commonwealth Island medals and Olympic medals.
We have. The last major medal actually was back in 1994 for shooting in Commonwealth Games. Yeah. So. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah. Good. Okay. So you have, because of the way the island has dealt with this issue, you were able to open this week the facility. You've done some really good stuff in, Health Club Management, Leisure Media have shared some stuff. We've done a blog with you. Tell us what you did in order to reopen, and what's it been like reopening?
Yeah, our reopening has been a soft launch, if you like. So we're in our phase, in terms of our states again, so we've got the freedom, because we're self-governing over here, we're a Crown dependency, we have our own political and legal structure, so we follow our own public health guidelines. So the public health guidelines for phase 4 of lockdown, for phase 4 exit out lockdown, are quite clear, and we've written our guidelines according to that, using some of the stuff from the UK to help assist us from UK Active and SIMSPA. But our primary thing is public health guidelines. It's been a really soft opening. So we're still in social distancing. We're still social distancing at 2 meters, apart from in a controlled environment. And in a controlled environment, I'm thinking a place like our Healthy Lifestyle Centre for specialist classes, whereby it's 1 metre, and we have to take every contact name and detail, and also every piece of equipment that the customer has actually touched. So you can see in terms of the track and trace, that's key for us in this phase. So every activity is bookable, every single one. We can control it that way. So even public swimming is bookable, and we're trying to make sure that everything is cleaned after each session according to our public health guidelines as well.
Okay, so it's all bookable. How are you doing on payments? It was one of the questions somebody asked me when they saw your blog. Are you using cash, or is it just totally contactless?
We're not banning cash, but
Right.
we are encouraging customers to pay by card. And the reality is the community involvement during this pandemic has been absolutely brilliant.
Right.
So actually people are really listening, and people are just really keen to do what they can. The other thing that we don't have, which I know the UK industry is looking at, we don't have screens either at reception or cafe or anything else. So, and that was a direct kind of, it's a lot of people are keen to try and get back to some kind of normality. And with the R number being 0, the risk is so much less. So. Yeah.
So is the cafe open? Because you guys you've got a brilliant food and beverage offering, and the coffee is wonderful. So do you have to social distance though? How does that work in the cafe?
It looks very, very different. So according to the guidelines, we're open, but we're running as a takeaway service only. Right. So we have no chairs, no tables, no nothing. It's takeaway service only. And this is what I mean in terms of the difference in the building. I mean, it is still really quite empty. There's no soft play. We also have guidance that we're not allowed to do any extracurricular activities for under 18s. So no clubs, no associations. So you can see it's a very, very slow build. To getting out of lockdown, which has helped us a lot, because it means the community is really on board.
Okay, and I guess when you're talking about the community on board, you actually took part in our post-lockdown survey. Some of the results were quite interesting from your point of view. A lot of outdoor activity, people were doing a lot more cycling and that type of thing. So you've always been bigger than the buildings and the facilities that you run. You've always had a really strong outreach program. So have you got any plans to make more of that opportunity going forward?
Definitely. I mean, some of the classes that are going on at the moment we're doing more outdoor stuff, because that's what people have been doing. So although our classes are we usually run 90 to 100 classes a week, we're now down to 30 at this point, but a lot of them are running outside. Because it's a beautiful day. We live on a beautiful island. Why wouldn't we? But the other thing that we tapped into is one of our fitness instructors, Mark, did a few really good walking challenges when we were in complete lockdown and closed. And customers, not necessarily members, but people who were following us on social media, were going out on walks and posting their photos and their Stravas and everything else. And it was a really good walking community, and that's something we'll look to definitely continue, because it really has engaged the public, and especially in terms of where we live and how lucky we feel to live here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so pleased that some of the insight from the survey was used in that way, and you know, to actually start thinking about stuff that's bigger than who we are, our buildings, I think is something that the sector should really put some effort into going forward. So you've been open a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Is there any learnings? Is there anything you can share that you thought, because you're a planner, I know you're a planner, you're really good at it.
Yeah.
Is there stuff that you've had to swap and change because it didn't quite come to fruition as you expected?
I think we've adapted and changed things as we've gone along. So we had neglected to think about people coming in with their carers. So it was a case of, right, how do we balance the numbers? Because we don't charge carers, so how do we balance that? And we're changing processes as we go along. One of the biggest things was at the beginning, just before we opened, was a case of, well, how do we manage the through flow from the changing rooms? And this is where one of my key points was, even though we're working from home, you need to get together with your operational team to discuss things, because not all of the operational team will have smartphones or be on the network or anything else. A lot of them are not even working at home, they're just in lockdown. So and that was key. We came into the building, yes, we socially distanced, but we walked through with the ops team to try, and that to me is key. So we've got people, you know, changing on poolside and then coming through the changing. So we've got this lovely one-way flow, which people understand. But there's a lot of learnings to come out of it. So, for example, the swimming pool isn't as busy as we thought it would be. We've got 30 places, and maximum we've had is about 12 people in each session, even the early mornings. So that's really interesting. The gym slots packed, and actually we started off with 10 spaces in the gym. We monitored that, and actually we've increased it to 15. So it's a case of a common sense approach. You know, it's a case of looking at how the customers are reacting. In the free weights area, we only had we had 2 people allowed in at one time, Actually, we've
Right.
increased that to 3 because they're really aware. They're keeping that social distance. The other thing I'd say is that plead with your customers to be considerate and kind to each other.
Right.
So, for example, in those areas where there's limited availability, don't use your whole hour in the free weights area. Go in, go out, let somebody else have a go, and that's the community aspect that actually going forward, I think the leisure industry can really build on, is that community.
No, absolutely. I think it's really important. There's a whole load of things that we're going to have to do coming out of lockdown that actually we've been wanting to do for a long time, and this gives us that opportunity to do that behaviour change and almost force the behaviour change. So I think it's interesting. But what I'm interested in is cleaning, particularly in free weights. How are you managing the cleaning of gear in the free weights area?
So a lot of the responsibility has to be on the customer, and that is that's our welcome desk kind of says that at the very beginning. So we can do what we can do, if you like, and we can follow all the guidelines, but at the same point we need that community and that membership and those customers to actually help us as well. So we're kind of approaching it as we are one, we are Guernsey, Guernsey together, and that's the whole thing. But in terms of cleaning, so we have an hour slot in the gym. We clean it at the end of each hour, all of the touch points, and that includes so the gym instructor that's on shift in the gym will be making a note of all of the equipment. We'll be watching the free weights area, making a note of which has been touched, and also which has been, which person's been really clean, which customer has been really good at cleaning. So and then we'll go around, and at the end of each day there's a deep clean.
Okay, brilliant. All right, we're running short of time, but the space that really impressed me in your building was the theatre, which you use as a cinema and as a community performance area and all those things. What's the plan around reopening the theatre and the cinema?
The reality is, although we're allowed to open cinemas at the moment, it's socially distancing, and we've worked it out, and we wouldn't reach our break point if we offered cinema at the moment. So the reality is that's going to have to wait until phase 5 when social distancing is no longer required, and it's the same with the theatre. So it is a real shame, but our theatre is still being used for all of our media briefings with our politicians and Dr. Fruit and everything else. So it is still being used.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm really pleased it's still being used, but I think that's a really interesting message as well. It's around being selective about the things that you can make work, not just financially, but that actually add value to the community spirit, to the community need, and taking a local view of what you do and where you do it. I think it will be one of the greatest challenges for the bigger local authorities, the multi-site operators that we have in the UK. So last moment for us, Sam, what's your final tip? What would be the one thing you would want everybody to really think about going forward?
Value your team's inputs and ideas. They are so keen to get back. They want to get back to the industry they love. Use them, use their ideas. They're going to be enthusiastic. Just enhance that and embrace it going forward.
Okay, and on that note, Sam, I'm going to say thank you very much. That is so brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Sam. Take care.
Okay, no worries. Take care.